Sally McManus, who do you see as the winners and losers in today's decision?
Well, I mean, you've got to understand that all workers are still affected by this decision, are still getting a real wage cut. So you can't sort of, not acknowledge that that's the case. However, the cut they're going to get is very small compared to what they would have got if employers got what they wanted. So I think overall, if you really wanted to see it in those type of terms, I'd put the workers ahead in this decision.
The immediate response from small business has been anxiety because they're already under cost pressures from inflation, power bills, petrol bills, interest rate rises and so on. Do you have any concern about businesses' ability to pay higher wages?
Look, there's a couple of things here. I mean, the Fair Work Commission looked at all of these issues and said that, yes, this could be afforded. And one of the things they consider, of course, is the fact that sales are up. Like small business, like big business, has recovered from the pandemic. Actually, bankruptcies are at really low levels at the moment, so they're doing quite well. The other important issue is to do with consumer confidence. The biggest hit on small business is the fact that people don't have discretionary money. And if people were to suffer more of a wage cut, that's actually directly a cut to small business. So even though they have to pay their workers a little bit more, and I might say most employers in retail and hospitality are already paying their workers more than 5% above the minimum because they need to keep workers and there's a big skill shortage. They've got to remember all their customers are getting that pay increase as well. So that means it's actually good for them because overall people will still want to spend in their businesses.
As you mentioned, the pay rises are still less than inflation, so actually in real terms people are still going backwards. Is there anything that can be done about that now that the Fair Work Commission has made this ruling, or is it a case of going, all right, well, that's better than nothing, now we move on?
Well, I mean, this is an annual wage decision which affects 1 in 4 workers. The other big lever in the wages system is bargaining, and bargaining's, at a really terrible state at the moment. It used to be only, 15 years ago, around 30% of people were covered by collective agreements, and now it's 15%. And they're not delivering the pay rises that were promised, like keeping up with productivity, which is now at 2.8%. And of course, we know how big inflation is. So I think that that's the other part of the system that really needs reform. There's been a lot of talk about this, but I think it's now up to us to do the hard work to actually reform that system so it works for everyone.
Let me ask you about a bigger picture issue. Last night I had an interview on the program with the Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe, and that's an unusual thing for him to do. He made the point in that interview that he thinks we need to have a national conversation about the services that we can expect from the government going forward, given the economic context. What's your take on that?
Look, I do think that that is a conversation that we need to have. I don't think that we can have a situation where we continue to give tax cuts to people who don't need them while you've got so much pressure on people at the bottom end, especially working families and also people that are depending on the pension or other forms of social support. That is unfair. I know that those promises were locked in a while ago and discussion about that, but I really do think that there needs to be consideration of fairness and also a consideration of the particular circumstances we're now in. Like, can the country really afford that situation where, we obviously need to fund the NDIS and we obviously need to make sure that people aren't living in poverty.
Sally McManus, thank you.
Thank you.